I want you to just picture something for a moment. Imagine you could walk from Great Britain, head east, and just keep on walking.
Right.
And eventually, without ever getting your feet wet, you step into what is now the Netherlands, or maybe Germany.
It sounds like pure fantasy, doesn't it? But if you go back far enough, say to the early Holocene, you wouldn't need a boat. You'd be walking across Doggerland.
Doggerland. I think for a lot of people, when they hear land bridge, they just picture, a sort of muddy corridor.
That's the common assumption, yeah. Just a way to get from A to B.
But the sources we have suggest that's not the case at all, is it?
Not even close. Doggerland wasn't some transit zone. It was, for all intents and purposes, the heartland of Mesolithic Europe. A lush, vibrant place to live.
Okay, before we dive into what this lost world looked like, I do want to quickly mention our sponsor, Embersilk. We're talking about mapping a lost landscape, and in a way, that's what Embersilk does for businesses. If you're trying to uncover where AI agents could make the most impact for you, you really should check out embersilk.com. They are brilliant with AI training and automation.
A great fit.
So this landscape, what are we actually talking about? What did it look like around, say, 10,000 BCE?
Well, the data shows a really dynamic ecosystem. Forget barren tundra. We're looking at a coastline with lagoons, huge salt marshes, massive reed beds.
So it must have had a major water source then, not just swampland.
Oh, absolutely. Researchers have mapped what they call the Schotten River, which was a huge waterway. And they've also identified these massive dune systems. They call them the spines.
The spines. And what did they do?
They likely acted as windbreaks, creating these little microclimates inland that allowed for, dense forests to grow.
So you have fresh water, you have forests. That sounds like a perfect habitat for wildlife.
Exactly. And the fossil record backs it up completely. We're talking mammoths, lions, tons of red deer, and of course, where the wildlife thrives.
So do the people. The sources mention the Maglemosian culture.
That's right. These were Mesolithic hunter-gatherers, and they were perfectly adapted to this kind of marshy, river-rich environment. They weren't just passing through. This was home.
More of a destination than a bridge.
Precisely. It was probably Europe's best hunting and fishing ground.
Which raises the big question. If it was so prosperous, but it's now all buried under the North Sea, how on earth do we know any of this?
Well, for the longest time, it was purely by accident. For over 100 years, fishing trawlers have been dragging things up from the seafloor.
Right. I read about the trawler Kalinda. That was a key moment.
That was the big one. 1931, they were fishing, and they hauled up this big chunk of peat. And inside it was a perfectly preserved, prehistoric barbed antler point.
A harpoon.
A harpoon. It was the smoking gun. Hard proof that people had lived and hunted there. And since then, so much more has come up. A Neanderthal skull fragment, flint tools.
But obviously, this world vanished.
It was always going to. As the last ice age ended, the ice sheets melted and the sea levels just kept rising. What was high ground, like Dogger Bank is now, eventually became an island.
But there was also a much more dramatic final event, wasn't there? The Storegga slide.
Yeah. Around 6200 BCE, a colossal underwater landslide off the coast of Norway.
And when you say colossal?
I mean, it displaced something like 3,000 cubic kilometers of seabed. The tsunami it generated would have been catastrophic.
A wave that huge would have just washed over whatever was left of Doggerland.
It would have devastated any coastal communities, certainly. But what I find most amazing isn't the destruction. It's how we're rediscovering it.
You mean the modern archaeology?
Exactly. Teams from places like the University of Birmingham are using seismic data, stuff that was originally collected by oil and gas companies.
And they're repurposing it to look for history instead.
They're using it to create these stunningly detailed 3D maps of the landscape under the seabed. We can literally see the hills and the river valleys again.
That is just incredible, to use modern tools to reclaim a whole lost chapter of human history.
It really is. It shows this amazing resilience, not just of people back then, but of our own curiosity and ingenuity now. We're finding ways to illuminate the past we never thought possible.
What a fantastic and really hopeful thought to end on. If you enjoyed this deep dive, please subscribe to Intellectually Curious. Hey, leave us a 5-star review if you can. It really does help get the word out. Thanks for tuning in.